You are listening to Book Clips, a mini podcast in which authors or narrators do readings from novels. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book.
Hi, you're listening to SW Andersen, and I'm reading from my new book, The Love Doctor. This is a story about finding love after loss. In this chapter that I'm going to read, Chapter 3, Sofia and her business partner and best friend Reyna, who own a dating consultant company, are out celebrating a new match made. But Sofia has a past that sometimes sneaks up on her even in the happiest of moments. Stepping through the door of Raphael's, Sofia stopped and took in the vibe of the room. It wasn't stuffy, but it wasn't laid back either. Just a different crowd. A trendy Latin American theme with bright colors, lots of character, and as upscale as advertised. But basically, it was a higher-end hunting ground for single white-collar types. At least the music wasn't annoyingly loud. There was nothing worse than having to shout out a conversation in an establishment meant for conversing. "This place is packed," she said. Bobbing her head to the bubbly music, Reyna nodded. "Yeah, and the hot scale's off the charts. Definitely a great place to find a hookup. Maybe even a sugar daddy. Or a mama," she said, straight-faced. Sofia rolled her eyes, but decided not to comment. Definitely not the place for a quiet date. Not in the mood to be squished into a crowd, she surveyed the room for a table. "There's a spot on the far side." The pair maneuvered quick as they could through the swarm of bodies, lucky to get a seat at all. "I'm ready to drink, and it could take forever to get a server," Reyna whined. A pouty frown settled upon her lips. Sofia pulled out a $50 bill and handed it over. "Here, I'll take a vodka martini." "Excellent. Be back in a few. Keep an eye out for my 1 in a million, okay?" "Sure thing." Sofia laughed as her eyes scanned the bodies in the room. Handsome guys, beautiful girls, 20s, 30s, even 40s. It was a nice mix of professional people drinking and having a good time. Off to the left, a young man engaged in a poor attempt at picking up a much older woman. The dye-job blonde with far too much plastic surgery accepted the drink and then shooed him away like hired help. Along the back wall, 2 women were making out hard and heavy. A gaggle of men hung on every grope as if it were the game-winning drive in the Super Bowl. No wonder their business was so good. These places weren't where you went to find love. No, these were all about lust and the search for the instant gratification of a primal need. Sofia shook her head. This had never been her scene. She'd always preferred more natural settings, and a connection without alcohol and forced expectations. It was too hard to get an honest impression with all the false personas people wore to bars and clubs. She continued her visual trip around the room, skipping from patron to patron, many of whom either reeked of too much makeup or too much testosterone. Then, her gaze landed on a sight from the heavens. Unable to look away, unable to breathe. No sound reached her ears. No other person existed. Heat welled deep in her belly. There, amid a pile of cubic zirconias, stood a diamond shining bright. Beautiful brown-haired girl next door, who dared to tempt with just the right touch of sexy, had a cute little slope to her nose, a smile that beamed, and the kindest dark eyes. What shade were they? Chestnut? Chocolate? Would they have golden flecks or dark ones? Sofia's gaze finally traveled lower. Tight-fitting burgundy dress shirt with several buttons undone at the top showed off some enticing cleavage. She licked her lips. Her heart pounded with more force against her rib cage, stumbling over a bead or two. She rubbed her hands together nervously, only find them damp with a thin sheen of sweat. Talk about lust. Sofia's primal need surged to the surface like a tiger after its prey. Suddenly, she was just like everyone else in the bar. She believed herself to be above their behavior, but here she was, drooling like every other desire-filled fool that laid eyes on her. In Sofia's defense, however, the magnetism was impossible to ignore. For a moment, she considered approaching the woman. She was capable of flirting when she wanted, though that desire had been dormant for quite some time. This woman, though. She had definitely struck a chord, a very deep one. She was capable of making her move. It had been a long time since Sofia's heart had actually fluttered. That thought sobered her on the spot. She ripped her eyes away, focusing instead on the older fake blonde who had scored yet another free drink. Loud music and annoying chatter once again filled her ears, quick and harsh. The abrupt change left her cold. Sofia swallowed hard and prayed for her drink to arrive to soothe her parched throat. No sooner had she asked than her prayer had been answered, as Reyna slid into the other chair, unaware of Sofia's crisis. She set the drinks down and went on about the two hotties she had chatted up at the bar, neither of which had been the subject of Sofia's intense inspection. Sofia downed half of her drink in a flash, and when her eyes returned to find the woman, she was gone. The pounding of her heart skidded to a stop. A heaviness settled in her chest, feeling as if she had lost something big. It made no sense. They hadn't even met, yet the moment seemed monumental. She had missed her chance at whatever it was, and for whatever reason, it cut deep. She closed her eyes and sighed, suppressing a tear from the memory of the last time she had lost something dear to her. Without conscious thought, her fingers moved to her pendant. "Hey, Soph, you okay? What's wrong?" Reyna reached over and placed a comforting hand on her forearm. Sofia shook her head and tried to regain her composure. "Nothing," she sniffled. "Nothing, I'm fine," she repeated, stronger than before. "You don't look fine. You thinking about—" "I'm fine. I think I'm going to head home, though. I want to be on top of my game for our new client tomorrow." She handed Reyna another 50 and gave her a hug. "You sure I can go with you?" "No, really, I'm fine." "It's over now." Lies. She avoided eye contact. "Have a good night and be careful. See you tomorrow." "Bright and early, boss." With concern heavy in her eyes, Reyna turned her lips into some semblance of a smile. Sofia forced a smile of her own, left her half-finished drink on the table, and hurried toward the exit. There would be little rest for her tonight. You have been listening to SW Andersen, reading from The Love Doctor.
You have been listening to Book Clips. Check out the show notes for the synopsis and buy links for this book. If you are interested in showcasing your novel, then check out the show notes for more information.